People not from the Western world. What's something Westerners eat that makes you wonder, why the heck would you eat that? My family's been living in the States for a long while now. My parents don't buy celery that often unless they're planning to use it for a dish. So, when my parents saw me wash some stalks then take out the peanut butter, they were like, making ants on a log in class is what helped me like celeries as a kid, but I guess it's not a thing in Korea. Or at least for my parents' generation, no clue about now. My parents weren't into the celery with peanut butter. Too sweet, they said. But then my mom takes out the mayo and uses it as a dip for the celery? It was my turn to go? Though it honestly didn't taste as bad as I thought. UK here. Am I the only one who has no idea what ants on a log is? Certainly intrigued though, it really must be a US thing then. You cut a portion of celery stick, fill the curve of the stick with peanut butter, then line a few raisins on top as ants. It's basically a kid's food craft to get them to eat celeries. When I explained this to my parents, I forgot to mention cutting the stalk to smaller portions. So I look back to see them trying to fill a whole stalk with peanut butter and commenting how messy it is. May have to give it a try. I think some people here have it without the raisins. The term is definitely a US thing though. A family friend from South Africa commented on pumpkin pie once. Wait, you put pumpkins into pie? Why would you do that? I had the opposite experience when I au paired for an American family. I asked if they were going to eat all the pumpkins they bought for decorations after Halloween, like roast them or make them into soup. They looked at me like I'd asked if they were going to eat their children. Pumpkin? Soup? They said the decorative pumpkins weren't edible, and the only way Americans eat pumpkin is in pie, and it's sweet. I told them pumpkin soup is so ubiquitous in Australia, literally every cafe in the country has it on the menu in winter. Edit. Seems like, from everyone's comments, maybe their reaction was either a regional thing or an ignorance/lack of interest thing. Now that I recall, the family ate literally 2 kinds of vegetables the whole year I was there, canned green beans and fresh cucumber. Phew, most of the pumpkins we decorate with aren't the kind you want to eat. They're a different variety and taste awful, even when prepared correctly. Edit. A bunch of people below have pointed out that the seeds are great when you salt, oil, and roast them. I forgot to mention this. The flesh is awful but the seeds are indeed wonderful. Save your pumpkin seeds when carving. I am ethnically Korean, but I was born and raised in Argentina, with American citizenship. Our family loved making Argentina-style barbecue, asado, every weekend. I married my very Korean wife who, during the first 1 year of having asado, she loved it, but now, she just can't understand how our family loves barbecue/meat so much. But she just loves having asado plus kimchi. Best combo ever. Greasy barbecue washing off with the tangy, refreshing kimchi. Edit. I married my wife in the States, so she has never experienced eating so much meat. Yes, KBBQ is popular, but that's nothing compared how much Argentines eat their asado. KBBQ is usually thin and marinated, eaten as side dish, makes you crave rice, and eaten easily at restaurants, and expensive too, unless it's ace, which lowers quality. Argentina barbecue is best homemade, and requires 2 to 3 hours of preparation and dedication to fire the charcoal, put thick salt and lemon to like 10 pounds of ribs, and grill it slowly. You can't really find authentic asado restaurants. Argentina restaurants usually serve steaks, not whole, slow-grilled ribs. Honestly, that sounds like a very delicious riff on KBBQ. Asado? Incredible. Kimchi? Yum. I think your wife is onto something. Regions that produce a lot of cattle, Argentina, Texas, are going to have a culture that has a lot of beef in their food/regional cuisine. Turns out barbecue is a great way to cook a lot of beef. I'm half American, half Indonesian and grew up in several countries. Didn't move to the States, NYC specifically, until I was in my 20s. My roommates were trying to figure out American things I had missed out on growing up internationally and they were blown away that I never had a PB and jelly sandwich. I was hesitant to try it because it's such an odd combo, but man, they made me one and I was like, damn, this is good. Also, s'mores was something they introduced me to one summer. I was used to eating cheese on graham crackers and never thought of it as a vessel for dessert. I have never heard of cheese on graham crackers. Is it cream cheese spread? I usually have a fat slice of brie or camembert on graham crackers. I'd also do a spread like beurre. To me, graham crackers and cheese was a typical snack at home. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Brie is really good on sweet things. My favorite it's putting some on sliced apple. I grew up in Jamaica. When I first came to the UK in 2001, I started school in primary education. Everyone in my class liked fish fingers, but no one could convince 7-year-old me to eat it because coming from an island, I know fishes have fin. I love them now though, but I only started eating them about 5 years ago. Also, I had never seen white sugar before. In the Caribbean, we predominantly have brown demerara sugar, and to this day it is still my preferred. Jamaican who came to Canada. I was also surprised by white sugar. I generally prefer non-white sugar, though I understand it's useful for certain baking tasks. I enjoy demerara, but my favorite is brown sugar. That is the shit right there. That delish hit of molasses. A Japanese colleague of mine was straight up offended when he saw we Brazilians put mashed potatoes and batata palha, which is like tiny thin potato chips, on our hot dog. I didn't tell him my mom also puts carrots, corn and other vegetables on it. He'd go crazy. To be fair, after seeing Brazilian pizzas and now reading about mashed potatoes on hot dogs, one would think you guys were taking fat bong rips when cooking. To be honest though, mashed potatoes and mushroom gravy on a hot dog sounds amazing. One of the best street foods I ever ate was one of these. Grain of salt though, I was on a European vacation and just came out of a club drunk as fuck, and the locals turned me onto these. Street foods are always the best after a night of drinking and dancing. The sloppier, the better, and that Nordic burrito concoction looks pretty goddamn sloppy, not gonna lie. New Zealander here. Our former Prime Minister tarnished our name with his spaghetti on pizza. He was voted out a few months later, and I'd like to think that this was the tipping point for most of us Kiwis. Haha, Australian here. What's with our Prime Ministers eating food incorrectly? I would be okay with the onion, but with the peel? Not okay with spaghetti on pizza, but that's just because I'm Italian. I traveled to the States once and I was excited to have hash browns considering we were at the source, but they were completely different from what we have at home. Edit, the hash browns I had were from Denny's, but a lot of you have mentioned Waffle House, so I'll definitely give it a try when I come back. Something I've found is that hash browns tend to vary a lot depending on where you get them. They're all good, but it seems like each place has their own spin on it. Here in Texas, hash browns are typically shredded, tossed in butter and cooked on a flat top. Me and my dad with get over easy eggs break the yolk and hit the hash browns with a bit of ketchup and salt and pepper, then mix the egg yolk with them. It's really good. Not good for you, but really good. Yeah, I'm from Texas too. Those are what I think of for hash browns. Once I went to California and the hash browns were just chunks of potatoes. Edit, I get it. I get it. They're called home fries. But whatever restaurant I went to called them hash browns, and I was disappointed when I got served them. I still ate them without complaining, of course. I'm a Western person, but I lived in a remote jungle village in the South Pacific for a few years. I'd always have a tin of milk powder in my bush kitchen for making tea and coffee. My language helper wanted to know why the tin had a cow on it when it was white powder and not corned beef, the only cow in a tin she knew of. I explained the origin of milk powder and how in my country we get it slightly fresher as a liquid and many people drink it. She was totally grossed out that white people love to drink cow breast milk. Living in a remote village with no refrigeration, she had never had milk, cheese, yogurt, etc. So when I explained how we ferment milk to make those, she started gagging. That's amazing, lol. I can imagine why she would start gagging. It's an interesting process. I don't even waste a second thought putting milk in my coffee. I love yogurt. Did you tell her about ice cream? Since she was familiar with ice cream from a few trips with me to the main trading town where I bought her one and she liked it, I didn't want to ruin it for her. My mom is from a village in Burma. When my mom and her family moved to Macau, then a Portuguese colony, they were served ham for the first time during the trip. My grandparents thought it was raw meat and the entire family, grandparents and their 10 children, left their ham portions uneaten. My parents are now in their 70s and just in the last 2 to 3 years got open-minded enough to try medium rare steak. They like it but still view it as a you'll get sick food. My dad developed a cold a week after eating medium rare steak and blamed it on the steak. In the last 2 to 3 years got open-minded enough to try medium rare steak. This is the one that gets me. My wife, Japanese, will eat just about anything raw. I've seen her eat raw chicken, raw liver, raw fish semen. But every time I cook steak, she asks, is it okay to eat it if it's still red in the middle? Really? That's the one that gets you? She eats raw chicken? I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have a similar story, share it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Have a great day, or night.